Hey there, everyone. Wobbly Giraffe here with another video. My cat is eating one of my French fries. He's trying to steal another like he always does. I love this cat. I hate this cat. Um, I want to give an update on my research if my cat will let me. Leave me alone. Get out of here. Get. It's just too much of my food. All right. There he goes. All right. So let's go ahead and let's look at some of this research I've been doing. Okay. So I'm really just kind of recreating that research. I'm actually trying to do it better than before. And I actually like very much so how it's going. So let's kind of step through some of this stuff, shall we? I'm gonna share my screen. I don't like Zoom, but hey, it's relatively simple to work with. OBS was definitely a little more complex, and I don't want to bother, to be honest. Um, whatever. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm separating kind of their finances per se and the numbers I'm using to calculate stuff and what I'm kind of finding on their website. Okay. So I'm doing this for all the companies in my universe that I think are interesting. And going from there. Okay. So let's take what is this? This is for is this Fortuna? Yeah, this is Fortuna. 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 I prefer Fortuna. Screw it. We're calling them get this cat, man. Really? Get out of here. Second time. All right. So we have Fortuna here, right? And what I'm trying to do, I'm actually gonna switch these right away. What I'm trying to do, because I know for a couple other companies, I try to put this first. So what I'm trying to do is I'm at the very least going through a couple of their documents to post kind of this documents tab. Now it's just kind of a lot of screenshotting, unfortunately, so it's a little just kind of tedious and boring in that regard. I would much rather be able to like load that stuff automatically into Excel, but hey, it is what it is. Um, so what I try to do is I try to get a photo of their team for further research. I've done a lot of research on these boards or these executives, but I do generally like to have a face to the name, a little bit of data about them. Maybe I can look up their LinkedIn or like some other profile online, learn more about them, right? See if I like them, see how I feel about the team. Okay, doesn't weigh heavily in my analysis, but certainly something to keep in mind, right? Especially since a lot of people have been like, yeah, some of the CEOs tend to run a bad business and jump ship somewhere else, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Is the team good? Are they honest? Do they work hard? Is it a good company? Blah blah blah. Okay. So a lot of it is I go through their corporate presentations or whatever they have in that substitute. Most of them have had a corporate presentation so far, right? So I typically look for the facts I'm trying to kind of look for. Like some stuff isn't necessarily important to analysis from my perspective, or it's pretty like it could be pretty minute data, something similar, right? I'm like, yeah, that's probably not something that's too important, right? So I generally also try to look for these geographical pictures of where their mines are. So I like this. We can see they have quite a few corporate offices in Canada and down in. Let me get yelled at if I get that wrong. I'm gonna guess it says Peru right there. Thank you for saving me, map. I would have guessed Ecuador, but I think Ecuador is there. I'm not sure. Okay, anyhow. Then they have some mines over in Africa. They have some mines, Argentina, Peru, Mexico, right? So that's good to know for a couple of reasons, right? So they're not going to get economies of scale per se here. Some companies have mines essentially like right next to each other, in which case they have lower costs because they can use the same mills, or maybe they move drills between mines and that's a lower cost versus here where like, yeah, good luck getting something to Mexico to Peru or Argentina at like a low price, right? I mean, maybe they could ship drills around if they needed to, but they're not going to be able to share mills, right? In particular. Okay. In some cases, I think companies had mines like literally right next to each other, so you probably could like mine from mine to mine. Kind of like how that sounds. Okay. Anyhow, we have what is this? Yeah, so I like stuff like this. I wasn't able to find a lot of these companies all in sustaining costs, which I think is a very important metric, like directly on their websites. I was getting frustrated. But it appears a lot of them do put it pretty clearly in different formats in their like in their corporate presentations or some of their financial sheets. So that's actually very cool. That's very encouraging because I do think that's a very important number. And I see a lot of companies have some very high ones. I see some companies have some low ones. In particular, I don't know if I finished my Pan American Silver research or refinished. I'm gonna probably also try and highlight at some point the stuff. Move my sock around. Don't mind me. So let's see. That could be all in sustaining costs. I don't know. Give me a second. Let's see if I can find it. This is gonna be a textbook by the time I'm done. I'll usually see a breakdown by mines. You can kind of see that here. A couple of companies have that in their presentation. That's awesome. I do like to see numbers based on mines, especially if the mine's at the end of its mine life. Yeah, it could be producing a lot of silver, but it's about to be depleted, right? So that's good. Let's see. Yeah, I also see provable, probable reserves. That's always good. Measured, indicated resources. That's good. Inferred. I'll get in more into that. Cover that in previous videos. This is what I'm looking for right now. We can see for Pan American Silver, they have their. See, is that their own? No, that's their silver price. Still not what I was looking for. And for some of them, it's in their corporate presentation. Some of them, it's in there. Yeah, so there it is. It's not in their corporate presentation. It was in their financial forms. So this is one of their mines. They have one for all their mines. I do like that they break it down by mine once again. I think that's pretty cool. Here we go. So one, they break it down by mine, and we also have kind of that total, which is maybe an average of some sort. But like, take this, right? La Colorada, that's pretty high. That's absurdly high right now. Maybe they're just starting out with the mine. Let's look that up, actually. I don't want to, it's been a while. Was that their biggest mine? This was one of the things is I had people on Reddit asking me like, oh, like, why do you like Pan American Silver? And it's like right there, like that's a huge all-in sustaining cost. Now, is that mine their biggest? I don't recall. So let's look that up. I don't think it is because usually they list it on their website by what's biggest, and it was the second there. La Colorada. Let's put this over here. Is Pan American's largest silver producing mine. So there you go. It's their largest mine. Expansion of the mine was completed in 2017 to have a new shaft, right? Deep mine shaft and another processing plant and stuff like that. And so I think one of the things someone on Reddit was asking me is like, they were like, oh, why are you in Pan American Silver? Like that has, or why are you in this other company? Pan American Silver has one of the largest mines. And right there is kind of my answer that, and this might be COVID. Maybe they closed down certain stuff. Sure. I mean, I haven't seen any other companies go that high. Could be wrong. I need to look at that again, but that's well above like even the average I've seen for a lot of companies. Ideally, like I think I've seen less than $10. The average seems to be about like 12 to 15. So something like that. Yikes. Now we do see the original forecast is below 10. So, what happened here? Probably COVID. There is that, but just keep in mind that's a very important metric to me is kind of their all-in sustaining costs in terms of how much is it costing them to get the silver, because take this example. Pan American Silver has the largest silver mine in North America according to what they said, right? But if they're paying $42 per ounce to get it out, here's the thing: is silver prices are still, what was it today? been hovering about $25. It's probably lower now. At $24, right? That's above the price of silver. So they're losing money on that mine. Doesn't matter that it's the largest mine in the world, they're losing money on it, right? And let's say like silver didn't take off for a while, which I don't think will happen. Right? I think it will take off, right? Said that wrong. Double negative, right? Always confusing. I do think silver will take off. Yeah, they would go into the profit. Let's say silver like hypothetically went to just 50, right? So you're like, okay, yeah, La Colorada is now worth like a lot of money, right? It's the biggest mine in North America, maybe one of the bigger ones in the world, right? You're like, oh yeah, like I want to be invested in them because if silver keeps going up, that's the place to be. I want to have ownership in the biggest silver mine in the world. Yeah, well, like they're paying a ridiculous amount of money to get that silver out, right? So that's the other concern, and that's well, I don't think I quite answered that Redditor's question when they asked like, why aren't you in Pan American Silver? It's like that's more or less why. It's like I don't care how big the silver mine is. We have to look at the whole picture there, right? And that's a ridiculously high price. Now it probably is a one-off. Get down, baby boy. It probably is a one-off, because it looks like their forecast was less than $10. So that's something to dig deeper into. I just thought I'd share that. Let's go back to kind of what was that? I've done mag. I need to really clean up all this stuff. So let's kind of go over Fortuna because I think they were one of the easier ones to kind of set up in that regard. Hey, baby boy, do you actually want a French fry? Come here. Jump on screen for our viewers. There you go. He's a beautiful cat, but he's a rapscallion. He's gonna jump right back up here. I should have put the fries down. Yeah, so let's go over this because I think my work on this was a little more straightforward, trying to capture what I'm looking at. So we have kind of the board, the team. I've already talked about that. I do like kind of seeing where the mines are in the world in terms of is there any sort of cash saving or just money saving, what have you, if the mines are closer together, which obviously we could tell for them isn't necessarily the case. It doesn't mean they're not a good company, it doesn't mean they're not profitable, but I'm kind of looking for cash saving here. There's a lot more overhead in a situation like this than say 2 mines in Mexico or 2 mines in Morocco, right? Or mines in Nevada, which I've seen. Okay. We also have them giving us their all-in sustaining cost, right? So, actually, this is for gold. Do I have it for silver? Oof. I'll have to dig back into that, see if I can find silver. Anyhow, I do like that they're giving EBITDA. I generally like EBITDA. I love free cash flow. They're giving us gold here, but these are still good metrics. I don't want to like discount gold. It's just I'm investing in silver. So like gold's not going to go up as much as silver. So I don't want to discount like gold entirely, but I'm not necessarily focusing on that, right? And yeah, most of the companies I'm investing in have a larger proportion of silver. A couple of them I think are listed as more gold producers, but I think that's because gold is a higher price, right? So you mine 1 ounce of gold, you're mining a lot more of silver equivalent, right? So even if they're like 20% silver, 80% gold, if silver goes super high, they're essentially now a silver producer, right? Okay. So once again, I'm not typically concerned with price to NAV could be a good metric. That's not too important to me. I do like enterprise value to EBITDA. I do like that they're also comparing themselves to other people. So that's always good. I know quite a few miners do that now. Question is, what are the good metrics in that, right? Because I think everyone kind of slices and dices what metrics they think look good. That's not necessarily the case. We can make any company look good with the right metrics. It's what metrics matter, right? Leave me alone, Kai. I know you want a French fry. Once again, typically concerned with cash flow metrics, enterprise value. Not concerned with any of your growth metrics. I mean, there's something to look at, right? But not necessarily in the mining sector. What price can they mine silver at? Those are more basic ones. I'm going to dig deeper than that, but it's what I've talked about in the past. All right. Now they do give us their portfolio as well. And a lot of companies kind of do that, not necessarily in this fashion, but it's what mines are currently producing, what are in development, what they're exploring, right? That can be kind of important because some companies have more production mines than say more explorations. Exploration companies are more kind of dangerous plays with a higher reward. Development, they're getting closer to production than mine, right? I think something to keep in mind is a lot of companies don't do the exploration, which is where they could make bigger gains. They buy other mines that have already been explored, but they also might have been partially mined. They're paying a higher price, that sort of thing, right? So the big players are more kind of, or like the higher growth stocks in this case that will go up higher are in these areas, right? Versus say this area, right? Especially if these are at the end of their mine life. Okay. All right, so let's keep going down this. They give us their all-in sustaining cost for gold. I want silver. They give us silver. Are they mostly gold then? I mean, their fortune is silver, so either way, I do like all of a lot of metrics, right? Do you not have your silver equivalent? Son of a gun. I'll have to dig back in and see if I can find it. It's okay. I thought I had found it, but hey, it is what it is. Either way, I do like also, you can see they broke it down by mine, right? That's always good. It's how much we think is in there, what's provable, what's probable, what's measured, which is indicated, what's inferred. And I am going to try and check like the news for each of these mines and see if did they ever like revise it down, right? Because I think that's something to keep in mind is a lot of these CEOs will say, hey, this mine's going to do great. And then later kind of revise it down. Not saying they did, but they could have, right? Anyone could have. All right. So, I do like that. Once again, I want to look at the geography. This is more the regional geography. I do want like the geography, specifically the mines. They kind of have that here. I'm not necessarily the best with geology, but that's definitely something to kind of look at, maybe read into, try to figure out, right? Because geology does play a big role in this. I know a lot of people, it's literally binding. I know a lot of people have said this though, there's different types of rocks they're digging into. That could affect cost. Maybe it's some kind of rock that is hard to mine, that sort of thing. Or the silver is more spread out, right? So I do like seeing this sort of thing. And that gives me a sense of transparency. Okay. If they're not publishing that, we're kind of taking their word on what they're doing, right? Okay, so, and some companies don't want to publish that stuff, I might add. All right, so what else do we have for this? Yeah, so here's another good example. Let's break this down a little bit further. So we kind of have specific drill holes here, right? Drill holes in the mine. I'm not sure that this is the same mine, but we'll also see the veins, right? And that's also very good to see. So hey, there you go. Okay, they're talking about specific holes, what went well, what didn't necessarily go well. That's good, right? More geography. So that's kind of its own section as well in my analysis, or just kind of this documentation here is, excuse me, is the geography, right? I like that they did multiple levels, right? Sorry, I'm just trying to keep my cat off of my french fries. He's stolen a raw steak out of my hands before, I might add. So, stealing a fry is definitely in his behavior. Okay, so I kind of covered kind of going through their corporate presentation. Obviously picking out what I think are data regarding the mines or some of their financials and the geography and the board, right? So I'm very happy with that sort of thing. It's very tedious, very annoying in general because on some presentations I am literally taking like a snipping tool of every page, but I do think it's important. It will pay off, right? So I also look through their financials and the MD&A, okay, which usually is kind of a note from the management talking about how things are going, that sort of thing, right? So those are two important notes. And really, it's just kind of a nice little screenshot section. That one didn't turn out the best of a lot of their forms for that quarter. So most of them that I've seen, I mean, they're past the deadline if they have it. I've given their quarter one metrics for 2021. Typically, I'm trying to look. I still haven't necessarily figured out the best way to do that because I would like to look at probably this quarter and the last 4 quarters. So quarter one of 2021, quarter two if it's out. I don't think I've seen that for a lot of companies. And then most of 2020, right? Because I get kind of the ability to compare how they're growing, right? How they're doing. So, right, a lot of that screenshotting. I think I am pulling most of that data in from Shardar as well. Whether it's correct or not, I don't know, because I know Shardar is missing some of that. I think I made a video on Shardar before. To be honest, I'm not sure whether I could show their data in a video again. So I'm probably going to avoid that, maybe delete that video. We'll see. But we can see I'm just kind of looking through all their finances, right? So let's just jump right through this, right? We can see sales, cost of sales, mining, operating income, general and administration expenses, exploration evaluation. That's actually a pretty good one as well. Foreign exchange loss. A lot of them are registered Canadian companies, so they're dealing in Canadian dollars or US dollars. And this company's in Peru and Africa and Mexico. Yeah, a lot of foreign exchange loss there, or gain, I suppose, but probably mostly loss. So that's for this company. That's actually probably something to really keep an eye on. I didn't think about that before. I do know some of the other companies pretty much deal exclusively in say two currencies. So the Mexican peso, Canadian dollar, Mexican peso, or US dollar. Excuse me. Excuse me. Anyhow, so that's a good one. Operating income, investment gains, their interest cost gains on derivatives. Not too concerned with that. Obviously, that's just a metric, and obviously net income could be good or bad. We could see a gain. I'm assuming that's because of COVID, so it's good that that's gone positive. And then I do want to see their shares per earnings per share, basic and diluted. I'm looking to see if that is diluted. That's something that I very much care about, is whether they diluted the shares or not. Can you leave me alone? How are you going to get it? You're going to have to Air Jordan it, dude. Just trying to figure out how to get this french fry. Come here, buddy. How are you going to get it? Oh, oh, oh. Whoa. Oh, y'all can't see this, can you? It's far enough out that like he can't. He's gonna have to jump for it. Probably take off my hand while we're at it. Come on, you stupid cat. Oh, all right. There you go. No more, bud. All right. Where was I? Sorry. Yeah. So I'm looking for dilution. We have their comprehensive income statements. Or what was that, income statements? Yeah, whatever. So we have net income, and we have a bunch of these categories. So assets, current assets, liabilities, your standard stuff. COVID definitely throws a wrench in a lot of this stuff. A lot of people did take loss. A lot of these companies did take losses because of COVID. So I do want to compare more than Q4 of December 31st. All right, so there is that. Okay. So we have non-current liabilities, shareholders' equity, your pretty standard stuff. And then we have trade inventories. This was for Tuna Mines. I guess did they make their own dory bars? It says they did. I was not aware that they did that. I know First Majestic, like it's pretty heavy and pretty much making their own bars. I was not aware another company was doing that, right? And that's a good fact to kind of look more into is do they save money from doing that or not, right? I suspect that could be a double edged sword. Mining with pride and purpose. I'll have to look at that on top. Not right now. So I'm also looking, once again, I like that they do this. They break down their cost by mine, right? And they're looking at their cost time. Okay, so it's cap. So they're also being very open about the depletion. I want to see, is that even, right? Or not necessarily even because we do deplete assets at different rates, but there shouldn't be kind of this crazy write-off either at the end or like anywhere in there. It should generally be relatively even, right? And see, I'm not seeing that full data here. I probably have to look at past releases, right? Okay, so we have their costs per mine, depletable, non-depletable, sure, right? Our accumulated depreciation, that's pretty good. That's from a while ago, though. Huh. Did I get their data from 2020? Maybe I did. Might have to relook at this. Oh, that's okay. So property, plant, equipment, right? So we have the cost of essentially the machinery, the landing, the furniture, the assets under lease, the capital work in progress, other, right? Just kind of all the costs, the accumulated depreciation once again, which is something to definitely look at across time as well, which that is not. And then we're getting their consolidated financial statements. You trying to eat out of the trash can now, dude? Get out of here. We'll be back. All right, and then we have our other assets. So ore stockpiles, that's also something to look at because if they had big stockpiles and silver went very high, they make more money. All right, so let's kind of go back to that example of Pan American Silver with La Colorada that had a high mining cost for this quarter. If they, let's say they mined, right? They were building up their stockpile instead of say selling. If silver goes sky high, they make more money. So stockpile could be a very important metric to kind of look at because if they don't have a stockpile, right, they're accepting the price of silver today versus what it could be in a couple of months. Okay, so that could be a good one. In fact, can I start drawing? Does so I wanted to do this. I want to start kind of marking this up and being like, hey, really look at this, look at that. I want to draw a floor pan. Shapes. How does this work? How do I get a color for you though? Let's do orange. Can I make you bigger? No, that's the angle. Where are you? Where are you? Whoa. Not what I want. Shape outline. Oh. Is there a way to? This is frustrating. There we go. There we go. All right, so Stockpiles could be something. Do I really have to do it for every single line? So, or stockpiles. See what else we have here. Not too interested in that stuff. Probably look at it at some point, but not in my first pass. These obligations, debt. So yeah, I think credit facilities could be important as well. I know quite a few CEOs were talking about like what they would do in an economic downturn. And I think that is relatively important as well. How do I, please don't tell me I have to go through this process every time I do this. Do I really? I'm gonna have to look up the shortcuts for this. I'm not gonna do this now. Why couldn't you be like paint? I'm gonna have to dump these photos of paint, mark it up, and put here, whatever. Anyhow, liabilities. My concern with closure and reclamation I put in here. Probably not. Yeah, see, I'm trying to kind of overanalyze it and then slim it down a little bit to be what I think is important looking at these stocks. Yes, I'm not too interested in that stuff. We have our earnings loss or gain per share, net income for the period. Once again, we can see they were negative in 2020, positive 2021. So could be COVID, right? Could just be something else. Definitely something to look into, but I do like to see that growth, negative and positive. Obviously, everyone does. We do have a share dilution, right? So they did engage in some dilution. And for me, that right there is not a good thing. So let me go ahead and, right, that doesn't make sense typically in a mining stock unless they're doing ridiculously well. Where are you? Insert shapes. So I'm going to give them red, right? So that's not cool. So I don't want to see that sort of thing. Sarah, can I do red? Really? You know, I might just do like the thinnest line just to save myself some time. All right, yeah, so that's bad, right? I don't want to see that. Because what that is they're essentially lowering their stock price through, say, like other means, right? That might directly lower it, or it at the very least splits kind of their company value between more people. So their stock might not drop right away, but in the long run, right, you essentially have less ownership in that company relative to its overall value. And a lot of people that look at this sector, analysts, PhDs, and other people say dilution generally is not a good thing in this sector because it implies the company is not doing well and they're kind of trying to like finagle the books a little bit. I mean, it's legal, don't get me wrong, but we don't want to see that, right? Incremental shares, yes, we have the dilution here, right? I mean, I already kind of marked it up, but not good right there. That's a red check mark in my book. So we then have all of these concentrates. That's pretty cool. What's customer 1, customer 2, customer 3? That's kind of weird. All right. Can see their effects on the their sales. That's pretty good. Seeing whether it's gone up or down. We have the cost of their sales. Right. All your general accounting information. I'm not necessarily going to go through every single one of these, but it's a lot of data, right? And what I'll probably do is go through it. I already kind of filtered out on my first pass a lot of stuff I didn't think necessarily should be part of my analysis. I mean, even some of this that I did put in here, I'm kind of like, I probably should have done this. Like, what do we have? What was I just reading? whatever I just was reading, I didn't necessarily need. Regardless, you can see this is a lot of their financial paperwork for, say, this year. I'll probably compare it across a couple different years. I'm just snapping it in here so I can compare it easily across companies. I think a lot of my stress in doing this research the first time before I lost it, this way is a lot better, is I would try to be comparing directly across their websites. And I kind of just like having it all in one place, and then I can kind of flip to it. What I'll probably do is try to organize it even better in these Excel sheets so that they're like in the same place across the sheet. So I can just boop, boop, okay, boop, boop, boop. Yeah, I'm R2D2 now. Boop, boop, boop. Just kidding. And then I'm also trying to look at their news. I guess I didn't do that for Fortuna yet, but I want to see if they essentially upgraded or downgraded their feasibility reports and some of the other things, right? So a lot of these mining CEOs, not saying they're doing it here, will have a feasibility report that makes the mine look a lot better than it is, or worse. Well, definitely better. I don't know why they would do worse. And then they kind of over time or at once very quietly like, it's not as good as we thought. And that typically will show up in the news, right? In their feasibility report of like, oh yeah, this mine's probable reserves are now a couple of million ounces less or something similar. Okay. So that's definitely something to work toward. I'm not sure I got that done for this company, but it's this sort of thing that I think captures the entire picture of this company in general, right? At a glance, obviously there's way more digging to do into these numbers. But I think this really helps me kind of focus on what I'm looking for, because I know what I'm looking for, and just dig deeper. So it's nice to kind of put this all in one place and be like, okay, so let's look at MAG. Did I get around to MAG? Now, the only issue is obviously none of these websites have the same format. So you can see right here, I got all of their, for MAG, you can see I got all of their management's kind of information that was in the corporate document as well. So nice and straightforward there. I like a face to the name. I like a similar format, so that's a little frustrating. Hey, not every company in the world is gonna have the same format, so that's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, so you can see, I think I left off on MAG. What else did I do? I think I finished Pan American Silver because they were one of the bigger ones. I think I finished Pan American Silver, yeah. So you can see it's literally just, if I zoom out, this thing's thousands of lines, and it's just me kind of going through Pan American Silver's or any other company's documents and trying to get more than the basics, but trying to capture the company in its basic documents in this tab, right? And then I'll either hand type or I'll try an API, probably hand type a lot of it, their numbers into that research tab. And that will be super standardized across the companies. I'm still definitely working on that. I forgot what I had the first time, obviously. So it's frustrating as all hell. But I'm definitely going to standardize it. I mean, I'll have, say, the cost per silver to mine, or exploration cost, or mine names, or mine size. But I think this is a good way to get all the information I'm looking for in here and then transfer the numbers to the previous worksheet. I think this is a lot less stressful than how I was doing it the first time. I really believe that. I'm very excited that that is the case, because the first time I was sweating, right? I just would be going on these websites and I had all these different columns that had a lot of the same like number things, right? So like ASCII costs I have over here for one company, for another company I have it over here, and like that's a very important number for me to look at. But then I just was getting confused. I was like, where is this number? So this is a nice way to just, all right, here's the general numbers I'm looking for. Now I'm going to hand type them or something somewhere. Okay. So that's awesome, right? So let's kind of go through Pan American Silver, because I don't think I gave them full time. I'm not sure they had a picture of their board. I should probably move this over here to match the other company, right? But at the very least, just kind of taking it face value, not worrying about my organization. We can see they have a bunch of mines at different places. Do they get some sort of economies of scale from, say, Huaron and Morococha? I hope I'm saying that right. And La Arena. Oh, and Shauni. Hope I'm saying that right. Right. That's something I'm looking for. Do they get economies of scale from there? Obviously, they're not going to get economies of scale from Timmins and the lowers, right? So that's that, right? So good kind of overall image to have. I can say, okay, yeah, they probably generally have higher cost than a silver miner, or just in general a miner that has, say, two and I guess that's not Guatemala, is it? I think that's Guatemala. Nicaragua, maybe. Don't quote me on that one. All right, so what else do we have? So yeah, and kind of, and this isn't their fault. Sometimes it could be a little frustrating when they give the same numbers, but it's in a different format, right? Not everyone's gonna do a putt chart. Regardless, they do give the numbers here. They have their total production for 2021. So that's really good to know. What is the total number of silver ounces they're gonna mine in that year? Obviously higher is better, granted, if they have the same costs as other companies, right? So Pan American Silver, some of their costs appeared higher, at least in this quarter, than a lot of the other companies. That $40 per, or the 40 all-in sustaining costs per ounce, right? That really takes away from that chunk. It's like they could produce the most silver, and then they're paying way higher costs, like 50%. Let's just say it's 50% arbitrarily, right? I think it's more. I know most other miners were still like 10, 15, 20. So 40s, what, double? Yeah, more than double, right? That eats out of that, right? Even if they had the most silver, it's like, it's not a good thing. All right, so they also have gold. Obviously, I'm not too interested in that. They're all in sustaining costs they have listed here. Now, once again, this is probably their average. It's taking out that 40. And I mean, that's a lot higher than other miners that I've seen. So that goes back to what I'm saying, where it's like, they could still be a good company. They're just not as good as the other companies. So let's go ahead and underline that while we're at it, even though that was a line chart. It seems just like such a stupid way of doing this. Then I have to do it literally. Is there like a plus sign? No. Excel keyboard shortcut to increase shape line width. Oh, they might tell me like in the as up. That was a very loud beeping. Leave me alone. Fuck off. Excuse me, they made a cuss. I'm working on it. Okay, you won't let me. Did I just break Excel? I think I just broke Excel. Uh-oh. Let's save it quickly. What are you? What is going on here? You froze on me. You getting an error message. We're not getting. What are you doing? Am I holding down a key or something? All right. You grayed out everything and not letting me drag the freaking line. I'm trapped in Excel. I just have to kill you. This is it. There we go. Alrighty. Oh, now here's the issues. To make updates to it. I thought I had saved it, but whatever. Let's just get this and see what happens. All right, let's come back to Pan American Silver. I think it was. Where? Oh boy. Getting lost in the rows. Did I lose some of what I was looking for, or do I just have that much more financial information in here? So here we go. All right, so here we go. There's what? Insert shapes, get a line. Right. So when I see that, right, not as good as other companies that I've seen. So to make you red, I guess I'll just have to do it manually. That's so frustrating. So wait, there's not like a way to do it manually, like a plus sign. Come on. Right. So I'm not happy with that. Right. And it's they could have the biggest mines or mine the most currently, but that's not a good cost per ounce. All right, regardless, we can see here that this doesn't have 20. Well, I guess we're not done with 2021, so that makes sense. So we have their operating cash flow, free cash flow, which I think is a good metric to have, and the free cash flow per share. It's awesome. Not too much else going on there, but I do like seeing free cash flow in general. We have their consolidated operating performance. So we have here. Also, I do like that these companies are very generally open about what's going on during COVID, and how they're trying to mitigate that while still mining. And a lot of companies have generally lost money in some form or another, obviously, because of COVID. It's affected their underlying performance, sometimes driving their net income negative, right? So that is definitely something to keep in mind that they could be a good investment. They don't go under, right? They got hit by COVID that bad. They could still be a good investment if they're taking that short-term loss, right? But they're still a good company. So it is good to kind of see how they're talking about that, why that might affect their production and stuff. Be transparent with investors about that, right? So yeah, we can see that their production was definitely hit. They're still not back up to 2019 production compared to 2021 so far, right? Forecast SDF. Once again, not too worried with gold, so not a huge deal. Once again, I do like to see where their free cash flow is going, so that's a nice graph. They talk about a new vein or a new kind of mine they're opening up. That's the Skarn next to La Colorado. What else? So what, they're trying to buy more mines, okay, or just acquire the mines. I mean, Maverix is one of my other stocks I'm researching, so that's interesting to see. They own 18% interest in Maverix Metals. So I'll keep that in mind as I finish my Maverix Metals research. So that's good. Once again, I always kind of look down on these acquisitions and mergers because there's not really synergies. And if they're buying a mine that's mothballed, not worth it. And I do think a lot, I am very suspicious of a lot of mergers and acquisitions in this space. All right. So not too worried about market cap, shares outstanding. I'm assuming that's volume. I do like dividend yield. Excuse me. All right. So, and then we have this, right? So I really like that they kind of broke this down by mine. They give us some facts about the mine. They're giving us the historical production, giving us reserves and resources, right? So once again, a lot of companies are pretty good about this. I like to see this. They also have a picture of it all in one slide. So that's cool. I also like that they are comparing their mines. to other companies. I didn't see all the companies I like on here, oddly enough. So I don't know if they're kind of cherry picking this data or what have you. And this wasn't them that published it, by the way. It was OBC World Markets that kind of did a survey. Now that was at November 2017, so that probably doesn't include a lot of the companies on here. I know they came later. I think the company I like came around in 2018, maybe a little earlier. But yeah, that could explain that. Either way, though, what's kind of interesting from this is we can see the trend line that typically if there's a higher production, it's a lower grade silver, if I'm reading this correctly. Oh no, that's the all-in sustaining cost. Excuse me. Yeah, so this is actually a very good graph in the sense that if it's a bigger mine, we have higher all-in sustaining cost. Well, in my mind, I would rather have a bunch of good mines, right, that have lower all-in sustaining costs than a bigger mine with a higher all-in sustaining cost. A lot of that's CapEx, right? And this is what some Redditors were talking about, where they were like, oh, why do you like this company versus these? And it's once again, if they have a bigger mine, they're generally paying a higher all-in sustaining costs. So they're making less profit at the end of the day. So like I would rather have a company, I'm just kind of arbitrarily picking here. Oh, yeah, I'll use their, their mine tier, right? I'd rather have something like this. Right. I mean, well, those are higher all-in sustaining costs. I'd rather have something, something like this. Oh, that's negative production, but I guess they're losing money on that. I'd rather have something like this, right in there. Or maybe, well, actually, no, I think I misread this graph. It's almost midnight. So what can I say? So they actually have a big mine with a relatively low all-in sustaining cost. So yeah, that's good on them. Usually, I mean, maybe they're cherry picking the numbers a little bit here. I don't know. All-in sustaining cost is pretty gold standard metric. So silver standard, I guess. Regardless, usually larger mines have a higher all-in sustaining cost. So this graph actually kind of interests me and surprises me. There's probably plenty of mines up here that aren't on this graph. All right, anyhow, moving on, we can see each of the countries that they're mining in. Navidad, they give us that resource table. La Colorado, they give us that table as well. So yeah, I really like seeing this sort of stuff. And we also have pictures of the terrain. So when I dig into the geology, we can definitely get a better sense of that. If I go deep into geology, which I don't know that well, so like I could do my best, but we'll see. That comes down to how good Google can help me out, or DuckDuckGo. Anyhow, there's I'm not even gonna bother saying these, but they have a nice picture here. They got the tables, they got the silver production. So I also like to see this sort of thing. Is it increasing over time? Is there a peak? When does it downtrend? So 2020, it's going down. End of the mine, 2020, it's going down. I can actually probably do some net present value analysis on this sort of thing. So that's actually pretty sweet. I probably need a couple more numbers for that, but it shouldn't be too hard to find. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's just similar thing, right? I do like this. And this actually is a very digestible format. So pretty happy that we also can see, they have some mines that are pure silver, some mines that are gold and silver. Once again, not too worried about the gold. Like I don't want to necessarily not include in my analysis, but yeah, I kind of don't. See, like I'm not too worried about something like this. It is on their books. Don't get me wrong. They do make money for it, but like silver, I think it's going to make such a good gain that that's where that growth is. So our gold prices are already pretty darn high relative to silver, right? What is the gold spot price today? So 1806. Yeah. All right. So the proven and probable reserves. I like this sort of thing as well. I'm glad that they put this all on one table. Very digestible, measured and indicated resources. Now it was hard to get a good picture. That's a little blurry, but hey, there it is, right? So then we have their AG cost per ounce. I don't know. Oh, no, that's the price they're assuming. I talked about that before. Yeah, regardless. So there you kind of go. I'm just trying to show some of the basic research I'm doing as I kind of build this, what I'm looking for. I think I made those points pretty well. So it's overall geography, picture of the managers or the executives or the officers rather, pictures of the mines and the mine data itself, and then the overall company data, especially all in sustaining costs, the size of the mines, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's looking at, say, some of their more kind of basic financial forms. Maybe not so basic, but yeah. So yeah, it's actually going pretty well. It's pretty tedious because it's literally just me taking screenshots. But at the very least, it's a good way to consolidate all of this data that I can try and organize it a little better. Because the first time I went through this, it just was not fun. So yeah, I mean, Helka, I think I left off on Helka. I don't think I finished them. But we can kind of see it's a different format, right? But there's all their mines with Greek Creek, the production, the resources, blah, 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 right? So that's all good. It's just different graphs generally talking about the same stuff. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish. See, like here's all their mines: San Sebastian, Fire Creek, Hollister. So everyone there wear a sweater. Anyhow, yeah, so that's all well and good. Now this is more like their no, so that's still per mine. So yeah, right. That's kind of where I'm going to leave off for the night. I just kind of want to show this. Hopefully, this sparks some ideas in you. Hopefully, you can learn more about these mines and these companies, and why I'm investing in the sector. It's tedious, but at the very least, it does help me better dig in this sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there because it's already past, it's midnight. I wish you all the best, and hopefully you like this video. Probably not as fun as some of the other videos I've done, but it is me really trying to dig into the numbers. So thank you very much. You have a good one. I'm gonna be back at it tomorrow. I'm gonna go to sleep, and I'm gonna go from there. So see y'all around.